Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something honestly pretty epic. We're taking the incredibly complex astrological data of a single person, Chio, and we're translating the whole thing into a full-blown anime-style character analysis. Think of it like a Hashira breakdown straight out of Demon Slayer. We aren't just rattling off planets and signs today, no way. We're digging into her ultimate strengths, her hidden shadows, and the literal karmic training arc she's destined to conquer. If you want to see the architecture of a truly dynamic, intense personality, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it. So just take a look at the sheer complexity of her actual natal chart here. You can consider this the ultimate blueprint of a hero. You see that crazy web of lines crisscrossing right in the center? Those are the planetary aspects. Basically, the internal alliances and the rivalries happening deep within her psyche. Our goal today is to decode these core stats, to show you exactly how her powers and her vulnerabilities manifest in the real world. But before we even touch her strengths, we've got to understand the core tension that defines her. I want you to ask yourself, what drives a soul that demands absolute, uncompromising truth, yet constantly fears the deepest betrayal? Well, that right there is the haunting reality of her intense Scorpio moon. It is a massive all-or-nothing placement. It's like she's constantly scanning the horizon for danger, always testing the loyalty of everyone around her.
All right, so moving on to her base aura, the Wandering Mystic. Let's look at how she actually presents herself.
If Chio had an anime title card flash across the screen, it would definitely be the Wandering Mystic, and her base stats show us exactly why. She's rocking a Sagittarius ascendant and a Pisces sun. That ascendant, it's like the shiny armor she wears. It gives her this incredibly enthusiastic, adventurous, and super humorous outer vibe. She walks into a room with just unmistakable faith and confidence. But underneath that fiery exterior is her Pisces sun, and that fuels her with this boundless empathy, total adaptability, and a really deep transcendent purpose. She isn't just fighting for herself, you know? She's fundamentally tuned into the suffering of others and the higher purpose of humanity. It's this stunning combo of outward bravado and inward compassion. Like, if you've ever met someone who is the absolute life of the party but will totally stay up until 3 a.m. listening to your deepest emotional baggage, yeah, that's the exact energy of a Sagittarius-Pisces combo. Next up, her combat style, powers, and vulnerabilities. Let's see how this mystic actually fights her daily battles. Okay, on the left, we've got her ultimate attacks. Her drive, her Mars, is in Taurus. This gives her immovable determination. It's a very slow, steady, totally unstoppable power. You literally cannot rush her, but once she locks onto a goal, she absolutely will not budge. Pair that with Mercury in Aquarius, which grants her this quirky, hyper-observant, genius-level intellect. She sees the biases in your arguments before you even finish your sentence. But check out the right side, her vulnerabilities. Uranus in Capricorn can make her incredibly blunt and just super irritable if she feels like her freedom is being boxed in. And then we have her moon squaring Mercury. In astrology, a square means two planets are basically at war. This creates a really volatile internal clash. It's a relentless seesaw between her rational, brilliant mind and her intensely irrational emotional responses. Her intellect is saying one thing while her heart is just screaming another. Moving right along to comrades forging oaths and bonds, because no hero fights alone, right? Her romantic and platonic relationships are vital, but as this matrix shows, they are anything but simple. This is a massive psychological push and pull. Her Venus, the planet of love, is in Aquarius. It craves intellectual freedom and unconventional, friendship-based bonds. She needs a ton of space and absolutely despises dramatic emotional displays. But remember that heavy Scorpio moon we just talked about? Yeah, it demands the exact opposite. Her emotional core requires an intense all-or-nothing connection and absolute ride-or-die loyalty. So she's constantly battling this wild paradox. She's deeply possessive and terrified of betrayal on the inside, while outwardly projecting this aloof, detached need for total freedom. Now let's talk about her inner demons, shadows and blind spots. Every great protagonist has a dark side they have to conquer. The primary shadow lurking in her chart is Black Moon Lilith in Libra. This is a big one. It points to a profound, deeply repressed discomfort with needing other people. To her, dependency and compromise feel like fatal weaknesses. Because of this, she fights an internal war that manifests as a really painful cycle. She'll experience these sudden, intense waves of neediness, which are then immediately followed by periods of fierce, almost aggressive independence just to overcompensate. And building on that shadow, here's a quick hit list of her most dangerous blind spots. First, that brilliant mind of hers, It often turns into a trap. She ends up overanalyzing situations to the point of total stagnation when she really just needs to take action. Second, those extreme all or nothing emotional reactions driven by her Scorpio moon. Third, that constant, exhausting seesaw between logic and feeling. And finally, she has an incredibly intense, hair-trigger temper that explodes the second she feels dominated. That's fueled by Mars and Pluto directly opposing and constantly provoking each other in her chart. But listen, all of this tension, all of these inner demons and conflicting aspects, they are pushing her toward a specific karmic goal: destiny, the final evolution. In astrology, the North Node dictates our ultimate life purpose. For Chio, her North Node is in Pisces. This is her literal training arc. To reach her final form, she has to complete these specific escalating steps. Step 1, she's got to let go of that rigid perfectionism. Step 2, she has to surrender the overthinking and the endless analysis that keeps her trapped in her own head. Step 3, she needs to actively cultivate faith, belief, and profound tolerance for others. And finally, Step 4, she must achieve deep emotional healing and self-compassion. Her destiny is literally to evolve from a state of chaotic, critical overanalysis into an absolute master of boundless faith. And that brings us to the ultimate question at the core of this explainer. When the final battle is truly a war between the hyper-rational head and the passionate, fearful heart, will Chinjia's final evolution allow her heart to ultimately win? It's an absolutely fascinating chart, and honestly, a beautifully complex journey of a soul learning how to surrender. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the cosmos. See you next time.